Well, the cold spell of January 2024 is officially over. In fact, we've still got a very deep snow cover across particularly the northern half of the UK. These were the snow totals according to one source here representing the snow cover up and down the length of the UK. You can see here that Altnahara holds the cards to the deepest snow cover, upwards of 13 inches. Now that was actually 15 inches yesterday, but there has been some shrinkage in the snowpack during the overnight period, thanks to initially very heavy snowfall, continuing to build the depths actually, but then warmer air and rainfall has been now starting to shrink the snowpack. 13 inches also at Loch Lascarnock, or 33 centimetres, and then we even had as much as 10.6 inches at Wick, Lerwick 8.7, and then as you go down through the list here, interesting actually to see Glasgow Bishopton with 0.8 inches. So there's obviously been a little bit of snow in the Glasgow area. Let me know in the comments section below, have you received any snow with this most recent cold spell? So the winter 2023-24 has delivered two relatively decent snow, well, not snow, but cold spells. And I know there has been a few folk that have been dismissing the level of cold. Now, I can rest assure you, this has been a cold spell because we have had some very low numbers, especially across the far south of the British Isles in particular. And I know it's all the ifs, buts, and maybes. I know that I would constitute this as a moderate cold spell. But I did say a way back at the beginning of this, if we managed to lay down a carpet of white across the south of the UK, those -9s and 10s that we've seen across the south of England probably would have been -14, -15, possibly even the coldest temperatures anywhere in the UK with this particular cold spell, because some of those numbers during the overnight in particular has been pretty impressive given the fact that there's no snow cover. But I notice here we do have some snow even down to Leaming in North Yorkshire at 0.4 inches, and then all the way down to Almondsbury at 0.4. Charlwood even 0.4 inches of snow. That's quite interesting actually to see. Shawbury 0.4, and these were the temperatures yesterday afternoon. No great shakes actually with regards to that cold spell. It's not really a particularly big song and dance, I must admit here. Quite mild across much of Wales, as you can see. Southwestern England has been relatively mild. We did see 2s and 3s anywhere east of the southwest of England here. We've seen a colder general air mass here. But the overnight minimums this morning were certainly quite impressive, I think, especially given the fact that there was no snow cover. Tulloch Bridge, I think that's now 3 nights in a row below -10. It did so. Dalwhinnie, coldest January night in the UK since 2019, so the coldest in 5 years. We did have -13.6 at Tulloch Bridge, or Furset in the West Highlands yesterday morning, which was the coldest spot. But we also did see -10, -11 anywhere from Shap in Cumbria all the way down to Benson in Oxfordshire. And, even this morning here, a -8.6 at Bournemouth Airport is rather impressive stuff, I think. So, interesting tweet here by London and Southeast Weather. Always appreciate Daniel's tweets here. Do subscribe to his Twitter feed if you haven't already done so and you're on Twitter and interested in weather stuff. The coldest January night in 11 years in the CET zone. So this is the coldest January for the CET in 11 years yesterday, boosted by a very cold overnight temperature. It was the coldest 18th of January in 37 years, so 1987. While the cold spell might be underwhelming for many, which I agree with, and I've seen that in the comments section in yesterday's video, a lot of angst with regards to this cold spell. I know there's been a lack of snowfall, which certainly diminishes the level of the cold spell overall. I have to admit that. I agree with that wholeheartedly. But you can't dismiss the fact that this was a cold spell, folks, and it was highlighted here on markloganweather.com. I think so far, up until the 18th, 19th of January, based on what has been said, what has been forecasted, I think it has been a pretty good forecast. Now, I will be honest with you, there's elements that I'm not overly enthusiastic with with regards to both the stratosphere, some of the longer term models as well, has been not overly favourable. But what I will emphasise to you is the Mann-Julian oscillation has been something that I've been beating that drum all winter long. It has been a terrific climate driver that has been essentially what has been the go-to mode for with regards to both warm and cold spells. This winter was always going to be a back and forth winter with the potential of significant cold spells, particularly after Christmas and New Year. Now, El Niños with a East QBO was always going to be likely a backloaded winter. In other words, a mid to late winter would be the worst of it. El Nino and the Indian Ocean Dipole, I think, did drive the autumn and early winter pattern. I think we've seen significant spells of warmth during the month of December after that very cool start to both December and the winter. But overall, I think we had a greater chance of seeing increased blocking beyond Christmas and New Year. And I think most folk would, if you're not pinpointing your back garden, I think will admit if you look at the big broad picture, that has been the case. But certainly interesting tweet here by London and Southeast Weather with regards to the central England temperature. Also an unusual cold on the south coast this morning. Herne Bournemouth minus 8.8, Shoreham Airport, West Sussex minus 7. And he goes on to say, makes you wonder what a good blanket of snow would have done. Easily minus 10, possibly even the mid-teens below freezing if we had have had snow-covered ground. And I know people are jumping on the fact that it's the ifs, buts and maybes. I get that. But I think you've got to admit the Mann-Julian oscillation has been terrific. It's been doing a full loop. It's done 2 loops that has essentially dictated both the warm spells and the cold spells this winter so far. It entered the cold spell and favourable phase 7 and 8 late November, delivered the cold. Then we've seen it rotating gradually through 2 and 3. Then we've seen the turnaround end of week 1 of December, rotate through phases 4 and 5, very mild mid-December period. Then it started to edge back towards the colder phases of 6 and 7 towards the end of December. We did flirt with cold. It didn't fully materialize, but we did flirt with cold around the run-up to Christmas and New Year period. Then it entered a stronger phase 8, which then helped deliver the cold spell that we've got at the moment here. Then it's been gradually starting to rotate back through phases 2 and 3, and it's now entering phases 3, 4, and 5, which is fundamentally the warm phases. You can see here off the graphic the MJO going into phases 4 and 5. That is the kiss of death when it comes to winter cold. It had been highlighted here on marfoganweather.com since long before this cold spell arrived that we were going to see a warm-up around the 20th of January. That has now materialized. But look at this here. According to GFS, it's edging towards phases 6, and then it looks as if it's wanting to go back towards the null phase, which is an inactive phase, less responsive to the mid and high latitude northern hemispheric pattern. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all materializes, by the way. But you can see the response in the upper air pattern. This is the upcoming 7-day period, almost a complete flip from what we've just seen, with big negatives, deepest negatives, North Atlantic, Greenland, up towards the Arctic region. That then reflects a mild North America and a mild Europe here. The ocean air of the Pacific and the Atlantic takes over big time. Arctic oscillation, look at this here. You don't get much of a bigger flip in the upper air pattern than this. Deep negative, now we're going up to strong positive. Could we see record-breaking warm temperatures towards the final 10 days of January? It is possible. There's no getting away from that. North Atlantic oscillation, there's your flip around. Deep negative, up to strong positive. The question is, do we go back towards the deep negative into the early and mid portion of February? So the stratospheric situation is another thing that we need to keep a close eye on. As was highlighted back last weekend, the stratosphere at the 30 HPA level did see a wind reversal. So this is a tweet here by our good friend Richard Trott earlier this morning, saying that although the second warming at 30 HPA was maybe not as strong as the first, Now, I think both the MJO and what has been going on within the stratosphere with the strong warming taking place, the tremendous amount of weakening within the polar vortex, both the MJO and that stratospheric situation has been working hand in hand at delivering the current cold spell. So he goes on to say that essentially we have seen a wind reversal, but the warming that we've seen of late is probably less strong than what we've seen back that delivered the cold this time around. So the response, 2 to 3 weeks later down the road, may not necessarily be as strong as what we're seeing with the cold spell that's ending just now. But he says that it still has had enough warmth in its grasp to push the 30 HPA graph further north than the initial warming. So in essence, what he's saying here is, even though we've had a very temporary wind reversal, it looks as if we've pushed the warming to a stronger level, albeit very brief, than what we've seen during the initial first warming. Does that make any sense? I hope it does, actually. It probably is a load of waffle, actually, but I hope you're getting the overall point in what I'm saying. Certainly very interesting to see 2 to 3 weeks down the road what happens. The February is the big month that I've had in the forecast. Up until now, it has delivered. The cold spell early December, a flirt with cold at the end of December, the overall month warmer than average. January, I did expect to see a colder than average January, and based on what we've got at the moment, it's going to be quite interesting to see, actually. This is the 2-meter temperature anomalies for the past 10 days, by the way. So very strong cold compared to average. The coldest compared to average anywhere in Europe is actually Southern Ireland, the Southern UK, and Northern France in particular. We've had some very cold nights here with significant snowfall, so it has been a bona fide cold spell here. It's not 2010 by any stretch, but certainly nonetheless, it is a significant period of winter conditions here. And the month overall, so this is the month of January so far, arguably firmly colder than average here, but the final 10-12 days of January is going to be warmer than average. It's going to be a slow warm up, especially across more northern areas of the UK where we've got the snow coming. So here's the upcoming 5 days of the GFS ensemble here, warmer than average, and the day 3 through 7 is even warmer than this. So the question I would ask is this going to wipe out the cold anomaly that we have for January so far? That is going to be the question here. But generally speaking, I've been more than happy with the way the weather pattern has been evolving in recent times. So what can we expect in the next couple of days here? Well, this is the low seen by the ECMWF, by the way, for Monday at midnight. Midnight Sunday into Monday, we've got a 946 millibar area of low pressure off the northwest coast of the UK here. Look at the squeeze in the isobars here, representing very, very powerful winds indeed. Looking at the strong wind gusts themselves for the same time frame, and you could be talking widespread severe gales, storm force conditions, very problematic stuff indeed. Looking back at the overview chart over the next few days, we've got one system after another that is going to be continuing to pump mild air off the subtropical Atlantic into the UK. You can see here one system after another moving through. Now with the deep snow covered ground, there is going to be flooding issues through the course of the weekend here and probably beyond that. That feature moves through, as you can see here. We're left in a legacy of blustery westerly showers. Then we've got the next system that moves in, and that looks as if it's a fairly deep feature. Nowhere near as deep as the first one, but nonetheless a deep feature with more wind and rain here. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I'm edging closer to 6,000 subscribers, so if you haven't already done so, hit that big red button. I would appreciate your support, and I appreciate everybody that is on the channel already. Enjoy the rest of your Friday evening, and I'll see you again tomorrow with more weather. Bye for now.